Hey, what's up? This is Terrell Davis, and you're listening to the Live Life on Offense podcast.
Blue 42! Hut! Hut! Hike!
Welcome to the Live Life on Offense podcast with Hall of Fame running back and two-time Super Bowl champion Terrell Davis and myself, Kevin Shoemaker, real estate entrepreneur and CEO of the Terrell Davis Group. We dive deep into what it takes to develop the championship mentality for your business and your life. We provide you the playbook for entrepreneurs that moves the chains down the field so you can live a life that is more than just existing, but a true life on offense. Let's kick it off.
All right, welcome to another episode of Live Life on Offense. What's going on, Kev? How you doing, man?
Man, things are good. Weather's been a little crazy, going to high 70s here in Colorado. Now we're
nice and toasty.
We're getting snow tonight, so I got to find my winter coat. But we've been just grinding it out. Now we're in the fourth quarter, and the fourth quarter we always really talk about strategy and so forth. But really we were sort of meeting up and talking about sort of the core values of our company and sort of the standards. And it was I was thinking of you about this whole conversation because I wanted to really see if you could sort of break down. When I think of standards, I think about some of our conversations you shared with me about your time in Georgia and with the Broncos and would love for you to sort of break that down a little bit.
Yeah, just kind of the background of sports, starting from Pop Warner and growing up in that sports world is kind of where I developed a lot of the core values that I sort of believe in today. And when you grow up in sports, they talk about things like integrity and hard work, and being confident and having courage and doing all these things, man. And so or at least as I was growing up, I kind of I kind of use that as a guide, So you go through college and you have to fight through things and adversity, and you're dealing with this kind of stuff, and it just becomes part of the fabric. You don't think about it. My time in Denver, I think, was really the time that everything blossomed. And playing for Mike Shanahan, who his whole philosophy, it was about being the best, right? His whole thing was first class organization. Everything we're going to do here is going to be the best. And when you have that as the mindset, or that's your core values, that's what you set out to achieve, everything you do goes back to that point. So the way we practice, man, we practice with a certain level, a certain standard we had for ourselves. And he would always come out there. If the practice didn't look right, he'd break up the practice and say, hey, man, guys, do you guys just want to be average? Because you're practicing like you just want to be average. So when that's happening, you got to be aware that, wow, man, I thought we were practicing pretty damn good, but apparently we weren't. And so he was raising the bar every single day, and it just became that voice. It became the things we did, the actions that Mike would put out there that sort of led us. And now all of a sudden it becomes a habit. And once you form these things as habits, it just becomes like part of your fabric. And, those core values are what I even to this day, I apply it to the business world. I apply it to my family. I apply it to everything. And we talked about this before, Kevin. It was being true to the game. That's a core value. That being true to the game is being true to your craft, being true to whatever you do, your livelihood. Is putting in the time, it's putting the work in, it's making the sacrifices. It's doing all those things that leads back to that core value, the integrity. When people aren't looking, are you cheating? Are you trying to, make or take shortcuts? And that's really been something that I try to instill in my kids as they're growing up right now. Is to have those values, and it takes time. They're not going to have it overnight.
Right.
I mean, just for example, so my youngest son, my wife and I came home and the TV's on, and I noticed the TV has a huge imperfection on it. And this big screen TV, and no, they're watching the movie like nothing's wrong with the screen. I'm like, am I the only one seeing that there's a big imperfection, like there's a big white spot on the screen of our TV? What's going on with that? And I asked my wife, and she's like, oh, no, well, it was there. I turned the TV on, and it just popped up. And I'm thinking to myself, there's no way that thing just popped up when you turned on the TV. Somebody threw something at the TV. Somebody broke the television. And so they're watching the movie, and no one is paying attention to me. So I said, all right. So as I'm watching, I tried to ignore it, but I can't because it's so big and it's sitting on the screen. I said, get this. I walked up to the screen, looked at the TV, and I noticed that it had crack marks on it. And I
Ooh.
said, yeah. And I said, no. I said, nope. This didn't just happen. Somebody threw something at this TV, and my of course kids as they do, they no one wanted to take ownership of it. They passed the buck, and no, he did it, she did it. No, I said, I know who did it. It was my middle son. And I immediately said, Tubby, what did you throw at the TV? Nothing. Tubby, what did you throw at the TV? Nothing. And so he went through this whole evening. He wouldn't say he did it. Then my oldest son said, Tubby threw something at the television. I was like, all right. So I know he did it anyway. And so I grounded them. I said, you can't, no PlayStation, no Xbox, no nothing. You guys, since he doesn't want to admit it, everybody's getting punished for it. So that was kind of instilling that rule, like the team. This is a team environment. When one
Right.
player gets in trouble or gets a penalty, everybody pays for it. And so they're all on probate, on I guess punishment right now. And as I'm
Well,
taking, go ahead.
it's one of those that it's sort of guilty by association is what we tell our kids is, with, as they're in their early mid teens. It's, just, if somebody else is making a bad decision and you're associated with that, you're guilty by association.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so, so then it's association during the morning. I'm driving him to school, and I finally get him. I said, "Tell me, listen, here's the deal." I said, the cover up is always worse than the crime. The cover up is the worst thing you can do. I said, I won't be upset with you because you threw something on TV. Were you supposed to do it? No, but just be honest with me. So I'm trying to teach them the integrity and honesty, and trying to build core values in him to say, just tell me you did it. Just tell the truth. You ain't gotta admit. If you didn't do it, then don't say you did it. But just tell me if you did it. And he finally confessed that he did. And I say, see, I said, so I said, all right, listen. I said, I'm not upset. I mean, I'm upset that you broke the TV, but I'm not gonna be mad because you told me the truth. And that's the most important thing you can do, is to tell me the truth. I can deal with anything else. I can help you if you tell me the truth. But if you don't, then we have problems. So that's just one example of having kids and trying to instill that core value.
Well, and I look back at when we originally for our company, when we put together our core values, we jotted down, and in full transparency, we probably borrowed a couple of the core values from one of our coaches, because we're like, wow, that sounds really good. But we really sat down and we tweaked the words, and one of them, embody integrity and respect for all, or one other one, 100% accountability with no excuses. And whenever in doubt, or whenever in question, when we're getting ready to make a decision, it's always easy to look at those core values and say, okay, is this decision I'm getting ready to make in alignment with these core values? But takeaway that I had this summer was, I was at an event talking to a gentleman, and he said, have you made core values for you at home with your family? Have you sat down around the table and actually went through the core values of the family? Like, well, we have standards, but to really dial that in and sitting down and talking with the family takes it to a whole new level. But is that something you guys have talked through at all?
We have not, but I do like that idea. That brings me to a point where we tend to treat our family and that environment differently than we do work or business or things that are outside. But I think we should pay attention to our family. Almost, we need to run our family almost like a business, and not, obviously there's feelings, and there's a little different aspect to it. But I think the foundation of the house and how it's ran, and communicating with your partner, and having those weekly meetings or huddles, as you will, and then sitting down to say exactly what's our goal as a family. And it's financial goals, there's a spiritual goal there's things that you want to achieve. And yeah, absolutely, man. So we have not done that, but I might have to take your advice on that, Kevin. I'm going to take that and run with that, man. and call a team meeting
Team
and
meeting, right?
you call a
Well,
team meeting, get the group together.
and so many times when we look at this, even standards, but it also rolls into even habits. And one of the things that Sherry and I have done is what's really important, is with our teens, because they're going in so many different directions. We sit down and we try as often as we can to have dinner together and really talk through the day and understanding, but just getting into some of the daily habits with the kids and being very intentional on things that we do. And one person told me a while back that this was, gosh, I think back in 2012. Her name was Christy. She said, my daughter was obviously, let's see, she would have been 4 years old back then, I guess. And she just said, Kevin, let me tell you things about a little girl. A little girl will admire and always look up to their father. And there's a high likelihood that when your daughter starts dating or starts looking for a mate, she will look for a lot of the qualities that her father has. And that changed my perspective because I'm like, gosh, I need to start acting like my daughter's future husband. So, but
That sounds weird, man.
It does sound weird, but I start having this awareness of people I know, and I start looking at their friends and their daughters' spouses, and I start seeing some similarities, but it goes back to the standard, and it really rolls into what kind of standard do we want to hold as a parent, as a CEO, as a coach. But one of these, a book I was reading recently, actually, it was a podcast, and it brought up the fact about, it was talking about the daily routine in the military. And one of the things they talked about why they're so regimented on making their beds and having the beds made perfectly is because once you do that, you're starting your day out with that mindset. And I thought that was I never heard that before, but it just sort of falls into that daily and even weekly rhythm.
Yeah, it's the routine, the routine. And you talked about habits. I'm a firm believer in habits, and my coach, Bobby Turner, was notorious. He always said to us, first you form habits, then habits form you. And that always was something I'd always think about, because if people judge you based off habit. So obviously, if somebody sees you and they don't know you, but they always see you doing the same thing, that tells them a story about who you are. If you're always late, what does that tell you about somebody? Okay, he doesn't take life serious. He's always late. That's not a good habit to have. Somebody's out there, if they're a smoker or a drinker, they might not be a drinker, but if somebody always sees you drinking, they're going to assume, oh, you're a drinker. Or if they see you smoke, oh, well, he's a smoker. Or if he's telling a lie, he's a liar. So your habits say a lot about who you are, which reflects your core values. And those are stuff that you have to be mindful of. And a lot of times we don't even know the habits we have. As a matter of fact, and so I get a coach every time I do my stuff on TV to have, we have coaches there, and they'll break down tape on us, and they'll give us the kind of the review of it. And my coach brought a habit up that I had no idea that I was doing. I tend to say the word man a lot on TV, and I didn't even know I was doing that.
But now I'm gonna have to start paying attention.
Yeah. So if you hear me saying man a lot, say just let me know.
Okay.
Just let me know. Don't stop saying it. But it also goes back to what he says too. He says, man, when you don't know that you don't know something, you don't have a chance to be successful in life. It's hard to know what you don't know. But if you know that you don't know, you have a chance, because it puts you into learning mode. It puts you into, what, I don't know that. So, and it also puts you into the mode where you have to seek advice. You have to get outside information where people are saying, okay, like he did. He gave me the feedback that I needed, that I was not aware that I was doing that. And those are some of the things that will help you with, not saying things, or being a little bit more aware of things happening, or having those habits that we don't like. And so Kevin, if you hear me just say man a lot, just tap,
yeah,
just let me know.
Well, and one of the things about, because there was several years I went by that I kept hearing, like, okay, yeah, I got to make my core value chart, and we talk about standards, but you get so overwhelmed in thinking about it in the process. It's sort of like, what's the first one going to be, and you overthink it. But I think, keeping it simple for us was just really just keeping it simple, because as you grow, your standards are going to continue to dial in, and you're going to be able to dial those in to higher levels. I'm sure that you felt that as you advanced in your career, that your standards, you kept up in your game.
Yeah, and yeah, and so it's almost like it becomes it is your playbook. Your core values, that's your playbook, and you open it up and you look at it, and you do evolve. Some things do change on that, and it's like a menu. You look inside, they say, okay, all right, this part of it, I want to be, happiness is important to me. I think that's a core value. Discipline, standards, open-mindedness, whatever it is, being optimistic about things. All of these things becomes your core value, but they also guide you. That's your compass. That's what guides you. That's what keeps you on that line or that target. Because we all stray. We all stray. Sometimes we do get off course, and we have to have things to bring us back on. And I really love, the fact that when you write down your core values, and you know what they are, you don't stray too far before you make that adjustment to get back on course. But you also do add some, because there's a lot of core values, but you have to have some that are really the core of the core, and that's going to keep you focused on your goals.
Was there any of them that looking back at what, say if you look back at Georgia or even the Broncos, was there a couple of them as a team that that really stuck out, that whether you guys are in the locker room after a defeat, it's probably after a defeat, I guess your core values could be challenged a little bit based upon your reaction. But was there any of them that really stuck out that you guys as a team just helped fight through?
The word would be perseverance, man. See, I said man again. Perseverance. Because we had to persevere through a lot, and perseverance, but also just togetherness. Never strayed around. There was teamwork. There was there was a closeness, a bond. We weren't fractured. There was no finger pointing. There was accountability from people or players who didn't do well. Nobody had to point it out. We had people say, "Hey, I didn't play well. It won't happen again." The team environment is really where you see a lot of that happening. And you can have a fractured locker room where you don't see those values really being exercised. You have a lot of guys who are just individuals, and the leadership is not there. Leadership on both levels, whether it's with the players or it's with the coaching staff. It's important to have leadership and somebody who's going to be honest with people, somebody who's going to lead by example, somebody who's not going to be a me person, but it's going to be an us person, somebody who knows that, hey, this is I'm here for everybody. I'm not just here for myself. But yeah, perseverance would be the word I would use. That we went through a lot of that, and you got to be resilient. You got to persevere, but you got to have some resiliency so that you can bounce back, because you don't have time to sit there and have self-pity and just kind of wait till, give me a week and I'll bounce back. No, you got to bounce back pretty quick.
Right. Well, hey, TD, I really appreciate you breaking all these down, and it really, really helps out a lot and with clarity. And I'm not only going to be watching for your next Tide commercial, but I am going to also be watching for how many times you use the word man.
Thank you very much. And just text me if you see me using it too many times. All right, let me know.
All right, I'll hit you up. All right,
thanks.
Appreciate it.
If you enjoy this podcast, make sure you subscribe and review everywhere you listen to podcasts. You think this will make a difference in someone else's life? Make sure you share it with them. Check out all the other episodes and other valuable resources at livelifeonoffense.com.